Hi, I'm Antonio Sala, and this video will be the last video of a case study of estimating speed given position measurements. In this video, we will compare with the optimal estimator, which is the Kalman filter, to see that finite difference estimation is quite suboptimal with respect to that Kalman filter. We will just use MATLAB commands for that Kalman filter. We will not delve in any theoretical detail. Also, it's important to notice that our problem is set in a causal way, in the sense that we will have some position measurements, and let's say I wish to estimate the velocity at a given time with the position sample at that exact time and position samples at instants in the past. That is called a causal estimation, and that's the only type of estimation that can be used, let's say, in real-time control, because you don't know your future measurements, but you must decide now whether to open or close a valve or to move some control surface in an airplane. But we have an alternative interpretation of velocity estimation, saying that, for instance, if I have a whole record of position samples to estimate velocity, let's say at this time point, I can use finite difference or whatever with past, present and future samples. So indeed, if I do some kind of polynomial interpolation or whatever in these samples, then I would get a more accurate estimate. The extension of the optimal velocity estimator to that non-causal setup, well, that is called Rauch-Thun-Schriebel smoother, RTS smoother, and that would be the really optimal prediction or reconstruction of the signal with past and future samples. But for brevity, we are not discussing it here, only saying that Kalman filter is the optimal causal filter for a Gaussian linear process, and we are not discussing RTS, as I said, for brevity. Okay, so let us recall what we were doing in previous videos. We were estimating velocity from, in the first videos, just naive finite difference estimate of the velocity. We had sort of two competing factors. One clean factor, finite difference derivative approximation, that is more accurate as sampling period Ts gets smaller, and another noise factor, excuse using V for noise, because it may be confused with velocity, but okay, measurement noise is V in the documentation of Kalman filtering in MATLAB, so I am using that, and I am expressing velocity with the whole word or more letters than just V. Well, the thing is that measurement noise term is rubbish for very small sampling rate, because if we assume that V1 and V0 are independent noise samples with constant variance capital V, then the variance of that term is inversely proportional to the square of the sampling period. So there is a best sampling period choice for maximum precision, and we discussed that in previous videos. Note that if samples are very close, maybe the independence assumptions between V1 and V0 break down. Indeed, that does happen. We'll discuss on the issue at the end of this video. This was the naive finite difference estimator. We use it in this second order system with critical damping, say a mass spring damper setup subject to random force, or if we use the stochastic process jargon, this would be the spectral factor, whose square will be the power spectral density. And the thing is that, well, we evaluated the exactness of that finite difference estimator via some covariance formula, in the sense that if P is the steady state variance of the position and velocity, then this exponential times P is the covariance between the states separated Ts. So in this process, which I am plotting the position, if AD is that exponential, this is the covariance matrix between position and velocity at several instants, and with that variance plus measurement noise in this diagonal, modeling the noise in position measurements, the thing is that with this covariance matrix we can estimate the accuracy variance of prediction error of the finite difference velocity estimate. And we can also use the optimal linear prediction for Gaussians, the formula from Wikipedia, and obtain the optimal estimator of this random variable given these two random variables. Just forgetting about this column of this matrix and this row, because del 0 is something that I don't measure and I just don't wish to predict. Okay, then in that case, applying some formula from Wikipedia, we discussed in previous videos how to compute the optimal estimator, and then, as AD depends on sampling period, we plotted the accuracy of finite difference estimator in red, which is rubbish for small sampling periods, versus the accuracy of the optimal velocity estimator with two position samples, which is the blue one, which is of course always better. Then, what's the Kalman filter? Well, the Kalman filter is the optimal estimator with an infinite number of past samples separated one sampling period. I am referring to the discrete time Kalman filter. Okay, then, how is that Kalman filter computed? Well, we can use the discrete linear quadratic estimator command and place into it the equations of my discrete time model, which was that the next state was a deterministic factor plus some process noise, which had covariance WD, and my output equation, my sensor, came from position measurements corrupted with some noise of covariance capital V. Well, then this comes here, the noise is multiplied by identity, this is the measurement matrix 1, 0, and the covariance matrices WVD, V are computed like that, and then the third output argument of DLQE, discrete linear quadratic estimator, produces the covariance matrix of the estimated state after the last sample. So the precision of my velocity estimate is this number here, which just I highlighted there in the code for comparison with other estimates. So for instance, from previous examples with 25 millisecond sampling period, I get this 0.1 variance in Kalman, and the naive finite difference estimate gets 6.4 speed error variance, which is rubbish compared to 0.1, of course. And with two samples, the optimal statistical estimator gets 0.86, which is much better than 6.4, but barely scratches the surface of what can be done with an infinite number of past samples, which can reduce variance almost by a factor of 9, getting from 0.9 to 0.1. So this is it. Kalman filter is much, much better, and this is why it's the king in state estimation and causal signal processing. Unless you get with modeling errors and the like, but okay, that's not the topic here. The thing is that, under no modeling errors, Kalman filter is just the best by large. The Kalman command, in which I insert a control system toolbox object sysd and the process noise and measurement noise variances, just obtains the same covariance matrix as here, and this sysd is the one I used for simulation. In here, the discretization of my continuous time system with the same matrices I was discussing when explaining the DLQE comment. And okay, it seems that Kalman is sort of favored in latest versions of the documentation, but okay, they do exactly the same. So if I now repeat this DLQE computation for different AD and WVD, which dependent on the sampling period, then I can superimpose the prediction error variance of speed estimation in the same plot, and we see that the orange line is the Kalman filter accuracy with infinitely past samples, And we see that it's, of course, the best because Kalman filter is optimal. Nothing can beat it. And we see that for large sampling periods, information from distant samples is not too useful because it gets roughly the same accuracy as just using one previous position sample. But for small sampling periods, Kalman filter is the clear winner, and the lower the period, the best accuracy we get, contrarily to the finite difference stuff. So this is important. The more information I get from my system, the best my speed estimate will be, in the sense that, okay, if I take a lot of samples and the optimal thing to do would be not considering some of them, then the optimal filter would multiply them by 0. So Kalman filter verifies that the more samples per unit time I get, the more accurate my velocity estimate is. As a second simulation, if I had a better sensor with 10 times lower standard deviation, 100 times lower variance, which is the square of that, then in here we will have the new plots, and of course everything will be more precise with better sensors. All filters, being optimal or not, are better with better sensors, so fast sampling with a very good sensor will give me a very small velocity prediction error variance until my assumptions break because we hit the physics of the sensor, as we will discuss in a minute. So this would end the video, but we have some remarks on the validity of my underlying assumptions regarding the independence of this measurement noise when samples are very close. Because, okay, in here it seems that this goes to 0. So if I take a lot of samples, then my accuracy would be better. And then indeed, from a theoretical point of view, if my independence assumptions hold, it's true. I mean, if I have a measurement noise in my position measurement, if I can take 1 million samples in 1 microsecond, so 10 to the minus 12 seconds sampling period, if I can do that, okay, averaging 1 million samples will give me a very precise position measurement. So from a theoretical point of view, if that is technologically possible, then it is indeed true what we are observing in my figure. But the thing is that that's not technologically possible. My probe will have some electronics, some processing time, some parasitic capacitance and inductance, whatever, so there will be some sampling period in which if I reach the bandwidth limit of my probe, of my sensing equipment, then my independence assumptions will cease to hold and I will not be able to decrease my error further and further as I reduce my sampling period. So in real life, my real sensors will violate my independence assumptions at some point when the time constants and parasitic capacities and whatever of the probe enter into account, and then real sensors will not be able to reach an absolutely precise zero error velocity estimate. Let us try to understand this idea, let's say in a photography context, in the sense that, okay, imagine that I am shooting a video with my phone at 20 frames per second in a well-lit scene. Then the sensor, there is a lot of light, then the sensor in my phone or in my photographic camera, if you were born in the Paleolithic, as I was, then maybe it exposes just 2 milliseconds the photo sensor to the light from the video scene, because, okay, there is a lot of light, noon in a summer day, and with this amount of exposure, we get light even up to saturation limit. So in my application, let's say I would have like 2 sampling periods. This will be 2 milliseconds, what I will call the sensing sampling period, and then this one will be 50 milliseconds, the one in my video. So this is the one in the theory we are discussing about. So if instead of 50 milliseconds I change it to, let's say, 40 frames per second, 25 milliseconds TS, then I will still be under the validity of my assumptions that, the measurement noise variance does not depend on sampling period and noise is independent from frame to frame. But imagine that I wish to record some slow motion scenes and then I am wishing to go for 1000 frames per second here, 1 millisecond. Then of course this is incompatible with this 2 milliseconds exposure in my photo cell. So I will need to change this to 1 millisecond sensing exposure time in my phone. And then in this case, in order to get the same brightness as my sensor will receive half of the light, then I need to multiply my sensor reading times 2. So, okay, the details are not relevant here. The thing is that my higher gain of my sensor will multiply the noise also by 2. So somehow I receive half the information, half the signal, and signal to noise ratio will deteriorate. And this is why in here my assumptions break when I get, let's say, in my 2 millisecond limit in which the T-sensing here starts interfering with my video frame separation. Okay, so this is a photographic explanation on the generic idea I was telling to you. But okay, for brevity we are not delving into the details of that mechanisms, so we will conclude the video with a summary of the main things we discussed, which is first that naive finite difference is rubbish at small sampling rates, that there is an optimal 2-position sample estimator which is close to finite difference at large sampling periods, but it's always better than that and never worse than my prior. And then there exists a Kalman filter, which is some formulas that suitably weight an infinite number of past samples, which is the theoretical limit for a causal predictor, and it's of course the best one, unless I consider non-causal measurements so that I can use future position measurements to estimate my current velocity. That's the RTS smoother we are not considering here. The last idea we discussed is that the precision of my Kalman filter velocity estimate is better and better and better as sampling period gets smaller. However, theoretical assumptions are violated by real physical sensors. So once the sampling period gets in the order of the time constants of the electronics of my probe and my analog to digital converter, let's say, then I cannot extrapolate to 0, and realistic problem settings cannot get below a given minimum prediction variance given by some continuous time Kalman filter that we are not discussing here for brevity. So this is it. We end the video here. Thanks for watching.